Now, let's move on. We're going to check in with our team at the World Economic Forum in Davos. Political, humanitarian and business leaders, of course, mingling there in the snowy Swiss Alps. And our business editor, Kate Moody, once again, is there for us today. Kate.
Hi, Stuart. Well, it is Emmanuel Macron's big day in the Davos spotlight as he prepares to address the global elite and put forward his vision for Europe and the world economy more broadly. Certainly until Donald Trump announced his rather surprising decision to come here on Friday, Mr. Macron was seen as one of, if not the star attractions of this year's World Economic Forum. We've got Angela Merkel, we've got Theresa May, we've got Paolo Gentiloni all here this week. But Mr. Macron certainly being seen as one of the main European leaders, perhaps the new face of Europe. Now, in less than a year in office, he's been able to push through his flagship labour reforms. He's unveiled plans to fight against fake news and revealed a rather controversial, hard stance on migration, all of these issues that could come up in his speech later on. Now, to help us take the temperature a little more, I'm joined by Gary Reeder, Global Head of Clients and Markets at KPMG. Thanks for being with us. You work with some of the biggest companies in the world, including in Europe. How are they perceiving Emmanuel Macron's efforts to make France a more business-friendly place? Is that working?
I think he is doing a great job for France and marketing for France. He really is. And I think his coming to Davos, as you said in your introduction, is seen, I think, as still a great high spot for the whole event, even with Mr. Trump coming the next day. And I think what we in business are all looking for is him to bring some clarity about his vision, not just for France, but for the world. I think one of the challenges we're picking up around Davos this week is uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and we're hoping that Mr. Macron, in his speech, may just begin to shed some light on both policies at France and his vision for the world more broadly.
Now, Paris has been campaigning hard to get to attract business post-Brexit, companies that might be considering leaving London. How do you think that's being perceived? Are any of your clients considering coming to Paris?
Very honestly, I've not spoken to one that's moving to Paris. I mean, there have been overtures from France since the referendum in 2016, but at the moment, I think many are keeping their cards close to their chest when it comes to potential locations. But France, Germany, many of the major countries in Europe are clearly interested in, if there is a need to move business into Europe, that they potentially take that business.
What about how Brexit negotiations have been going? Is there a sense of worry or perhaps relief about the way they've been going? Is there really going to be a good enough deal that clients can stay in London?
Well, back to my earlier point about uncertainty, Kate, I think, good that we got to the position we did in December to move forward the UK in its discussions with the EU. But I think this year is obviously critical, and I don't feel that I'm able to predict the final Brexit outcome. It's going to be a challenging 12 months, most definitely. But, we've got to work hard together with our colleagues in Europe to get the best deal we possibly can.
Now, one of the other unpredictable factors of the week, of course, the American president. The first members of his delegation are set to arrive in Davos later on today. What are you expecting, hoping, fearing to hear from Donald Trump?
Well, first off, I think it's great he's coming. I really do. We all have, views on Donald Trump and his policies, but I think it's great that he's choosing to come here to dialogue here. And again, I think it's back to this point of uncertainty. We all read his Twitter feed, but we'd like to hear from the man himself. If he can bring some greater clarity about, again, some of the big challenging issues around trade. His announcement yesterday around tariffs on solar panels has obviously hit the headlines this morning, but just trying to understand, what's his vision for when he talks America first, what are his visions for the implications for the rest of the world? And I think on US tax reform generally has been seen very positively by many businesses. And so I think there's a lot of intrigue about what he will say, but I think it's great he's coming and willing to dialogue and share with the global community what more he has in store as he moves forward.
Now, we've also been hearing and talking a lot about gender equality at this year's forum, particularly because we have, for the first time ever, 7 female co-chairs of the World Economic Forum. How do you think companies should be channeling that message into their workforce?
Yes, I thought it was great that we had all these the all-female co-chairs, and I think businesses should. I think all businesses are very focused on the gender issue. We've actually KPMG have launched a campaign here with WEF called Women's Voices, getting these the female leaders that are attending here and around the world to share, what more companies should be doing, what more successful women can do to act as role models for younger females, to encourage them that they can be the best they want to be in business. And certainly all businesses, and again including our own, are very focused on providing the best opportunities we can for everyone, regardless of gender, and ensuring in particular that our younger females have those female role models, can see what they can achieve in the workplace.
Now, lastly, we are seeing a lot of optimism here, but as you said, also a lot of uncertainty. What are the top risks that your clients are worried about going into 2018?
Well, I think some of the things we've touched on, I think the uncertainty around NAFTA, around Brexit, what's that going to bring? I think there is concern that, given the rise in markets and that we've seen, is this sustainable? And, a lot has been done over the last 10 years to get us to the position we're at. And one of the questions I've heard a number of times is, if there were another big shock like 2008, would the markets, would business be able to cope with it in the way it did back in 2008?
Gary Reader of KPMG, thanks so much for joining us. We've just got time for a quick check on the market, Stuart. A mixed picture over on the Asian markets there. The Nikkei sinking about 0.75% after its record-breaking session on Tuesday. I'll be back with the opening bell for the European markets and lots more from Davos coming up in the next hour.
Okay, thanks very much, Kate Moody there, joining us from Davos.